Hello and welcome to Beyond the Bias with me, Alex Reid, and today joined by the CEO of Bowls New Zealand, Mark Cameron, here to spread his words of wisdom. Mark.
Thank you, Alex.
Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me back. You had no choice though, because I did ask that you would put me back on.
Yeah.
I think it's just important that every few months that I just give a bit of an update with what's happening around the country in terms of the bowls community, events, initiatives, projects, etc. So here I am.
Thank you. And yeah, it wasn't, I didn't have a choice here, but that's fine. I'm enjoying it. So, we're going to talk about, I suppose, would you class it? I know outdoor doesn't really have the end of a season now, but we sort of end of season. We've got prize givings happening around the place for centres and clubs, Mark.
Yeah, we don't have an end of the season. It just carries on, and Champ of Champs is a good example of that. I mean, we've got the Aussie Open happening at the moment. Champ of Champs runs 4 weekends in July, and then we get a little bit of a break in August, and then back into it September, October. But it certainly is a busy time around the offices anyway, in terms of making sure that we got our plans and our budgets and our strategies and our staffing and resourcing and everything. Either wrapping up the season just gone or preparing going forward, and I guess those are some of the topics we're going to pick up today.
Yeah, that's a lovely little segue. So I thought we may as well start at the beginning, as you do with numbers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What can you tell us about our numbers, Mark? What are we sitting at?
So we do a census every year with the support of the bowling clubs. So 31 December 2022 was our last census. We report participation numbers, membership numbers, numbers, and more numbers. It's one of the biggest spreadsheets I've ever seen in my life. Is 465 bowling clubs, with numbers going back to 2010. I guess the really encouraging statements are that our playing membership, so think Saturday, Sunday, weekday roll-up type membership, was up 3.6%. Which is a really positive statement for our sport. Our participation numbers, those casual participants that play, Christmas functions, corporate functions, social bowls, they were up by, it might have been 30% actually, but we expected that level of recovery coming out of COVID. Rangatahi numbers sit around about 4,500, 4,700, which is up about 5 or 6%. The big number for us is probably, it's the Twilight Bowls numbers. So Twilight Bowls, Business House Bowls, went up from 10,000 a year ago to 13,000. So a good 30% growth there. And what's that? That's really nice. It's great to see people coming and playing social bowls, because that's a big part of our strategy and a big part of what our clubs deliver into the communities. But what started to happen now, though, is that it's now bleeding in, if that's the right term, or feeding into the first-year memberships. So first-year memberships this year were 1,770, which is...
That's good.
Is that the right number too, by the way?
It's technically 1,773, but 1,770 will do, Mark.
1,773, which is well up on the 1,400 the prior year. But it's actually the highest number we've had in 15, 20 years. Certainly since we've been recording back in 2010, it's the highest number. And what that is that there are now a number of those Business House Twilight bowlers who are, shall we say, being tapped on the shoulder and encouraged to join as first-year members. So really, really exciting that strategy, I guess, of getting people involved in our game and that social Business House Twilight social stuff is actually we're starting to see the gains from that in terms of people becoming what we'll call traditional full playing members.
I quite like that too, Mark. We say it's the most first year players since 2010, but if you contextualise it, the fact that 13 years ago we had quite a few less bowling or more bowling clubs, so the percentage of first year players is actually quite a lot more, isn't it?
Yes, I hadn't even thought about it that way.
Oh,
Alex, you're making an accountant yet. Yeah, it is. I mean, there would have been over 600 bowling clubs back in 2010. So really encouraging. And even on the club front, we sadly we lost 4 clubs this year. But in a very surprising twist, we gained 2. There were 2 new bowling clubs, which is the first time.
Do we know what to do?
we didn't have the forms or the paperwork for that. And that's the first time in a number of years that we've, probably a good 20 or 30 years, that we've actually, had a club being set up. So I can recall one of them is Hamner Springs, there in the South Island, and that's great. Which also made us think too that heck, there's a hell of a lot of other bowls being played around the country. There are still a number of bowling clubs that aren't affiliated to us for valid reasons. There are over 100 retirement villages that have bowling greens and people playing on them. So there's a heck of a lot of bowls activity membership
going on.
That's just not recorded.
It'll be interesting too, I suppose, as we see in the big cities where sort of our bounds are stretching out. I know when I drive from Auckland to Hamilton, I look around at what used to be grass and it's new suburbs popping up.
Yep.
Surely there's space there for something, Mark.
Yeah, new suburbs in terms of the greens. What's happening there, though, is the carpet greens. I don't even know if it's on our schedule to discuss, but we are seeing probably it's at its quickest rate the number of carpet greens that are being installed at bowling clubs, replacing natural greens primarily. And it's because now the carpet, the artificial green, is of good quality. It doesn't require the maintenance and so on and so on. And, without being proved wrong as a Nostradamus type person, but I would say in 20, 30 years that, 70, 80% of our bowling greens will be artificial, will be carpet, which a lot of people won't like. But it's a reality of our game.
Yeah.
And, we saw that at the Nationals this year, didn't we? Where in Auckland anyway, where it rained and it rained and it rained.
Thank goodness we had the artificial greens.
Yeah, we used 27 artificial greens on a one day. And by and large, almost without complaint, they played good. They played well. We played our finals of the ladies singles and the men's pairs on the Upper Arira under the roof.
It's as high standard as bowls gets there. That was fantastic.
It is. So we're starting to see it more and more, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see that this development is, hits the international stage as well, where we see more and more international events played on carpet green. I
suppose you could argue it's a better way of standardising the speeds and stuff as well. If we think about the Northern Hemisphere on there, like they literally play on quite long grass, 7-second greens. Their indoor facilities, which are artificials, are similar to what we play with. It'll be interesting to see how it goes forward. I just wanted to ask you, Mark, before we move on, and on the subject of numbers, Somerset Nationals entries, they're going well?
Going really well. You know the answer to this, Alex, anyway, but I'll answer it. So 1,580, I think it was the number of entrants that took part in the Nationals this year. So that's between Auckland and Central Otago. 5 years ago, that number was 570, I think it is. So, people are, our bowlers are wanting to take part in Nationals. The great thing about the sport of bowls Nationals is that it's open entry. So you can have anyone from a world champion to a first-year bowler who can take part in our Nationals. And I think that's just it's a great statement for our sport.
With our fours and mixed pairs, which has been in Central Otago and is going to Taranaki next year, is it the intention that the fours and mixed pairs is the Nationals that sort of goes around the centres that aren't the main centres, unlike the singles and pairs?
Yeah, very much so. Taranaki in 2024, February 24, will be the finals. I host the finals. The singles and pairs, though, because we need 30 plus greens, by necessity now it really is Auckland or Christchurch. We don't have much choice in that matter. Yeah,
just a question as a bowler. When you're deciding where the Nationals goes, like for the singles and pairs, do the centres approach Bowls New Zealand, or does Bowls New Zealand approach Bowls Canterbury and go, can you please host the singles and pairs this year? Which way around does it work?
It's probably more us approaching the centres.
Yeah.
And getting that level of support. I'd like to think one day that it's the centres approaching us, and that's about the point that we start thinking about how we could put a price on tendering these things out. But we're not there yet. So it really does need the energy and enthusiasm of the region and the clubs within those regions to support it. So, but we're blessed. We've got two or three decent options, I think, for the fours and mixed pairs in the North Island, and we've got a couple of options there in the South Island as well.
Yeah, it's going to be some good times. Now, before we move on, because I want to talk about Bowls Hub, which of course is a nice segue from the Somerset Nationals because it's what we use to run them on. But before I move on to them, was there anything else you wanted to talk about in that numbers space, Mark?
No, I think that's about it. Like I'm wandering around the country at the moment doing the centre visits. Chris Lander's doing a couple, and Martin McKenzie's doing a few as well. And really just acknowledging the year that's gone. I mean, the growth's been really good. Our sport's doing well. Our numbers are evidence of that. But equally, we're going to talk about broadcast as well. The evidence of that is the number of people watching our game, the number of people playing social bowls, the health of our clubs. We were losing in the early 2000s around about 11, 12 clubs a year. This year, well, we lost 4, but we gained 2, so net of 2.
2, yeah.
We're doing okay as a sport from a membership perspective, from a club perspective. It's not every club and it's not every region. But from a national perspective, we're doing okay, and we need to keep challenging ourselves to keep pushing forward as well.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Bowls Hub, Mark. What can you tell me about Bowls Hub?
We have this conversation just about every time we have a podcast. It's really important that we do, though, and we just keep it on the top of the list in terms of innovations and projects and initiatives. So Bowls Hub is a competition management system and database. Which means that we can set up an event and we can take payments, entry fees, and we can communicate with those through a database, those that are involved in the event. So we've been piloting this in the Upper North Island over the last summer, and obviously we used it for our national events. This summer we're looking to extend that out to 12 centres. So we're looking for another 8 or 9 centres to jump on board and run Bowls Hub. If there are the centre administrators, executives out there who are interested in talking, then have a chat to me Martin or Crash when we're doing our centre visits, or get in touch with Colin at Bowls New Zealand as well. The other part of this conversation, and we've sort of mooted it in the past, but didn't really have any plans, is that we're looking to create a bowls grading type system. And for want of a better description, that we're looking seriously at the squash, what they call squash levels. Mm-hmm. I think they call it My Squash in terms of the community themselves, but it's a levels system. So it goes A1, A2, B1, B2, right down to F1, F2, I think it is now. And how that works is every time as a squash player you play someone better than you can gain some points by beating them, and if you lose, you lose a few points, or if they lose, then they lose more points. And it's actually quite an easy extension into the bowls game, albeit we have pairs, triples, and fours in terms of disciplines as well. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but for a lot of our bowlers, they are coming from squash or tennis or golf or whatever it might be, and they're used to this sort of grading type system. So there'll be an understanding and almost an enthusiasm for a number of bowlers in the country. The added benefits are, though, that it enables us to start going, well, actually we could create a tournament or a local event which is just for D and E grade bowlers, or just for A and B grade bowlers, and so on. So we can start to actually create some events based on ability, at certainly a local level anyway, not just who's available or who's turning up. So it'll be different. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Alex?
No, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I quite like it. As I've said it before on various little podcasts, I think that our junior system is an imperfect one, because we have a world now in which bowls is lots of different things. So when we started the junior system, you joined a club and that was bowls, but now we have twilight bowlers and social bowlers and all that sort of stuff. And I think the junior system doesn't do that justice. I think we have first year bowlers who aren't really.
No, you're absolutely right. If I can pick up on this point, it's a good one, is we now have 13,000 bowlers who play in a twilight league. Now, they could play that for 10 years.
Exactly.
Turn up, in the 11th year they turn up as a junior, and that's not a junior bowler.
Yeah.
That's not someone who should be up against someone who hasn't played before.
So I think in my head, I like the idea of the system because that would sort itself out pretty quickly. If you show talent, regardless how long you've been playing, you would sort of make your way up and be playing peers. So I like the idea of us being able to go, let's run a D grade tournament and call it a development match, or run rep matches, or whatever you want to do. There's so many different things you could do.
Yeah, you could have something that, an event, a fours event that required you to have 2 D or E grade bowlers in it, as well as your ABs.
Yeah, I think it would work itself out better than people might think it will, if that makes sense. I know I've just used a lot of words in that sentence, but the more people that buy into it and the more games they play, it can by definition only work itself out in regards to who's graded what.
It won't be a perfect science by any means. The beauty about bowls, unlike squash though, is that you don't get a C grader, generally speaking, beating a B grader in squash, or you certainly never get a D grader beating a B grader in bowls. You could actually have that day where the E grader beats the A grader.
Yep.
You could,
Yep.
but you're also far more likely to have the D grader beating the B grader. So it'll be interesting. I mean, watch the space. We'll pilot something over the summer. Probably either at national level or one or two of the centres. And we'll just see how it goes. We'll see how it develops. But I think what it creates is a really interesting talking point around the clubs and the community as well. Suddenly you're sitting around the bar, and you're going, I've just moved from number 5 in the club to number 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or why haven't I been picked for the rep team? When my ranking says
Log
this.
into BowlSub and have a look.
Yeah, it'll create some good discussion and sometimes debate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be good. So, BowlSub, we've spoken about the competition management, but if centres or clubs are interested, contact Colin. Is that just throw him under the bus there? Just contact Colin.
Colin at accounts.
Yeah, and you can find all of his the details, like all of our details, are on the website under my team, our team. On the About Us thing somewhere. It's there somewhere. Anything else on BowlSub before we move on to whatever the next conversation topic is?
No, I think we're you just mentioned website. We're touch wood in the next month or 3. Bowls New Zealand will roll out a brand new website.
I like that you've given us 3 months for that, Mark.
Yeah. I feel like I've already given 3 months for it.
Yeah, that's a good addition.
Yeah.
Okay, so covered BowlSub. Broadcast stuff. That's been a space that's had a lot of things happening in the last year.
Yeah, I think, let's keep this conversation short because we all know that you can see the benefits, but just encouraging the number of people watching our game. So roughly 8 to 10,000 average viewers on each of our events. We'll look to maintain this. The challenge for us, though, over the next 12 months is getting that product that's sitting there on YouTube onto other platforms. Sky TV, Sky Sport, if they're listening, we're up for a conversation. Equally, TVNZ, I see TVNZ are now moving in more into the sports space.
Yeah.
But there are other platforms as well, the Herald stuff, other media platforms that we should be looking to just to quietly and efficiently get our bowls product out there.
Yeah, I can only see positive stuff, Mark. I think it'll be good, and it's been nice to get that support from our community and other communities around the space with the broadcast. I noticed that over the multi-nations in particular, where we had our YouTube broadcast, everyone was watching it, and it was quite satisfying. It's quite good.
Well, we had a good multi-nations too, and that helped, didn't it?
That was pleasing.
Yes.
Yeah, just about.
Well, let's segue now to World Champs, and I know not even on your list, but August, September, end of August, beginning of September. World Champs are on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
If you want a holiday, watch some bowls, then go to the Gold Coast. Our team's been announced. They're obviously preparing, albeit it's in the middle of winter at the moment. We wish them all the best, basically. So we've got, I think it's 18 athletes heading over there, plus about 5 or 6 support staff. So we wish them all the best for the World Champs. And equally, straight afterwards, Sheldon Bagley-Howley and Selena Goddard playing in the World Champ singles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really cool too, right? We're on the international stage, and whilst we're doing international stuff, be remiss of me not to also acknowledge and congratulate Andrew Kelly, and Caitlin Inch for their silver medals, runners-up in the World Indoor Singles.
Yes.
World Bowls Indoor Singles. And both of them, I think, if I recall rightly, just missed out on the gold by a one-end tiebreaker.
It was very stressful, and they did a fantastic job of representing New Zealand. Market made it for some exciting watching, and quite cool too to see the impact. Because I note I'm going off script now, but World Bowls now has a new logo, a new website, and some new stuff happening coming out of World Bowls now based in Australia.
Yeah, I think it's exciting for us in New Zealand in terms of what World Bowls is doing. Some innovation coming through there, and whilst all of it might not necessarily hit our shores and certainly hit our bowling clubs, it's just good to see that the international side of things is actually, starting to take some steps forward.
Movement's good. Hooking back to broadcast, I get asked a lot about Bowls 3-5, although not that often about my last bowl on the first Bowls 3-5 because it's past memory. But are we looking at anything Bowls 3-5-esque or Bowls 3-5-ish? What's TV League look like?
Yeah, we are. We're looking, and again, we've got to find a buyer for it basically, but we're looking to do another Tuesday, Wednesday night evening league. Similar to the Bowls 3-5 we ran, I'll say now pre-COVID. So we're looking to do that. It won't be Bowls 3-5, but it will be a short, sharp format of the game. So we've got some plans there. We're now in June, and it's the sort of event we want to run October, November, December. So kind of running out a little bit of time here, but at the same time, it is on our calendar. It's the sort of event that Bowls 3-5 really delivered for us was a product that non-bowlers enjoyed. Short format product, relatable people. So we'll look to see if we can't get something going by the end of the year as well.
Good. That sounds exciting. Is there anything else?
Got to keep you employed from a commentary perspective, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
So that's broadcast. That's essentially what we're saying is it's gone well and is going to hopefully continue to go well. Yeah,
I think it's really cool that bowls as a sport has got produces all the stuff ourselves.
Yeah.
And we can supply it into the market. We're not reliant on a third party.
I enjoy that we almost stand alone as a NSO that does that, Mark. I think that's quite a cool, space for us to be in where we actually, I think people miss it a little bit, but we literally do the production of our events ourselves.
We do largely stand alone in the space, but equally we're not a game of cricket or a game of rugby.
We're the slightly different money.
It's slightly different money, but also the complexity of the size of the field. And we're talking a rink that's 36 metres by 5 metres wide kind of thing.
We could put cameras around what's it called? The pitch, eh? That's what they call it in cricket.
Yep.
We could put cameras around the pitch. But that would be it, I think, for us. That's a fair call. Okay, well, we'll move on, Mark.
Yep.
To Twilight Bowls or Twilight Bowls 3-5.
Well, we've done this, but it's just an acknowledgement that, this is where our growth is. I talked about it going from 10,000 to 13,000 people playing Twilight Bowls last summer. It'll continue to grow. So from Bowls New Zealand perspective, we'll support any club that wants to get this off the ground and get some Twilight evening bowls going, or a second night as well, for that matter.
What should they do if they want help?
Or get in touch with us. So you can either get in touch through the info through me or through Sally at Bowls New Zealand as well.
Cool, and we can make something happen there. Okay, we'll move on to rangatahi. I know a lot of them participate, and that's how I started my outdoor bowls, Mark. When I was a youth, I played Twilight Bowls at the Tauranga RSA, so that can be the segue that works there. So what are we doing in the rangatahi?
Were you a school champion?
No, I wasn't, Mark.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Rangatahi. Do we need to talk about this
Rangatahi and Tamariki, and our youth, our focus on youth. So we're going to change it up a little bit this year with support of clubs. We still want to run programs for kids in schools, right? We need to make sure that we continue to establish and support a pathway. We see now the blackjacks. I'm not sure the average age now, but there are a number of blackjacks in their 20s playing internationally that are the product of a good secondary school youth program. So we absolutely need to carry that momentum on. It kind of stalled for a couple of years there with COVID, but we'll look to progress that and get as many kids involved as bowls as we can, and support them as much as they need. But the other initiative we're looking to do is just to get into schools, primarily intermediate, secondary school, and just build an awareness of the game of bowls. So get that class down to the local bowling club, and give them an hour or two of bowls, and just to build the brand and to show that bowls isn't just it isn't just for adults. And we might find that some of those kids, 5-10% might go, oh, yeah, I quite enjoyed that, I might carry that on. Equally, for most kids, though, it'll just be that one-off experience. But that's really important from a branding perspective, is that we do that. Having kids doing the schools rangatahi stuff is not going to generate more money for our clubs right now. We know that. They're not going to, or they shouldn't be spending money at the bar, and they're unlikely to be full playing members. But it just gives them that awareness of the game. And who knows, when they're 20, they might come and play some business house twilight bowls. When they're 40 or 50, they might, come and be members, but they've had the tasters.
Yeah, it's sort of an awareness raising tool, isn't it? So that people actually know what you're talking about when you say bowls.
Yep, and far be it for you to bring indoor bowls into this conversation, but I will.
Thank you.
There's an opportunity to take some indoor bowls mats especially into the intermediates schools, and try that out. We had a really cool idea, and I should we'll have to follow up on it real soon. But Martin McKenzie had an idea the other day, which was trial out bowls on a lot of the secondary school tennis courts.
It works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well then, so we could actually go into a school just with sets of bowls.
Yeah.
And actually get them playing on the carpet, those artificial netball tennis courts they have.
No, it works fine. You need the old bowls, but it's fine.
Yeah. And that's just building an awareness, but it's actually taking bowls to people as well. And, and God forbid in 3 or 4 years' time, because we're doing this stuff, we start being known as one of the fastest growing sports at secondary school level.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
And it's quite achievable, like very, very achievable. Because we are at a smaller level now, we could easily get a whole lot of kids playing this game.
Absolutely, I agree. And I suppose it's a slightly different side of the coin, but with youth, I know I hear a lot of questions about sort of the New Zealand development team, or under 26, or however you want to frame it. What's happening in that space? I know we had the Oceania event earlier this year, Mark?
Yeah, I think that's really important. So we've got a Rangatahi Nationals, so secondary school nationals, which extends out to an under 21 singles titles as well. We've got now a New Zealand under 26 selection that plays in the Oceania Challenge, and hopefully that's every year, but certainly every 2 years there will be an Oceania Challenge, and that'll include that team. Equally, there's a New Zealand Maori, Aotearoa Maori team in there as well. So I think it just bodes well that there's lots of opportunities for our youth, for our 20-year-olds to actually perform and play bowls.
Yeah, we still have spaces for that. I think it's easy to forget, but we literally had 2.5, 3 seasons just bombed with COVID when it comes to the high performance space anyway, didn't we?
Yeah, COVID, and also we shouldn't forget that this hasn't really been a summer for many in the North Island as well. And I visited the Hawke's Bay. I went down there maybe a month ago and drove through the Esk Valley. And, you forget, or you don't really appreciate, well, I didn't appreciate, probably is a better way of putting this, what the weather systems have done to a number of areas in our country and a number of bowling clubs.
Absolutely. Well, that was a somber note.
Thanks. The good news is those clubs have picked themselves up, bowling clubs.
Yeah.
The regions still have a lot of work to do. But clubs, we've got a resilient bunch of people within the bowls community, and they're stepping forward.
One of the cool stories I saw from just in the aftermath of the floods is one of the clubs in the Hawke's Bay was a very temporary primary school building, So the school kids went to the bowling club for class while they were fixing up the school. I thought, God, that absolutely sums up the sense of community that you get in a lot of these bowling clubs.
Yeah,
It's lovely stuff.
Yep, very much. So.
Okay, well, I think that's the youth, the rangatahi topic exhausted. According to my notes, we're on to diversity and inclusion.
Oh, let's do dual membership.
Oh, okay,
Because
cool.
I'd hate to end on dual membership.
Okay, we'll do that now and then finish with
Diversity and a couple others. We'll do Better Bowler and the online shop as well.
cool beans, yep.
Dual membership. So, bit of a bone of contention, this one, around the country, and differing views. So for a number of clubs, they absolutely welcome dual membership because by and large it keeps them afloat, especially those ones in, shall we say, more rural New Zealand, holiday destinations. So, we have a number of people in our bowls community who have what I'll describe as a city membership, and then have a batch or a country membership as well.
Yeah.
And we want to retain that opportunity. We want to keep that opportunity and keep that going. Equally, we have some clubs that, or some people that actually just want to belong to a couple of clubs so they can get more bowls in. They may find that, that their local club really only offers about 7 or 8 events in the year, in the calendar, and by joining another club further down the road, they actually get to play more bowls and more weekends. And again, we shouldn't discourage that. We want people playing bowls, and if they want to play a lot, then let them play a lot. So, that's the kind of the benefits of dual membership. The negatives are sometimes, though, that you get people who, shall we say, dominate at one club and then wander down the road and dominate over there. And, when it comes to representative stuff, it all gets a little bit complicated and messy and, should they be playing and shouldn't they be playing and who should they be playing for and so on and so on. So what we've prepared in terms of a communication to the clubs and the community is really to say that from a national perspective we support and indeed encourage dual memberships. But from a club and centre perspective, you should build into your conditions of play or your entry conditions of play for events how you want to manage, how you want to accept those dual memberships. So one of the more obvious ones is that, if I go and win a title at my club out in Harbour, Riverhead Bowling Club, if I go and win the singles title, which may not happen for a while, but if I win the singles title, I shouldn't be allowed to go down the road to another club and go and win their singles title. And then when it comes to the centre championships, I've basically denied one club the opportunity of being involved in that centre championship. So, that's an example, but really saying to clubs and to centres, actually within your conditions of play, you determine how you want to manage dual membership.
So with your analogy with the Champion of Champions, that would come down to the centre and their conditions of play, or are you saying that the clubs and the centres could both put it in their conditions of play? So say
The club could as well.
have to nominate a club to play or something.
So there's a club in Canterbury, I can't remember which one it was, who are adopting within all of their event conditions of play that they won't accept someone who's a dual member of another club. So they've gone really hard on it, right? But in my example, Riverhead could say, well, actually you can't play in our event if you're planning on or have played in another club's event. So you could do it at club level, or you could actually put it into the centre's conditions of play to say that actually we will only accept winners from those that have played for only one club. Where it gets a bit more interesting, and this is where it can get the conversation get out of hand on us, is when it comes to people representing clubs, interclub type stuff. So who is eligible? Should they be playing for one or two clubs and in different regions as well, especially when you've got regions that border on each other. It just gets a little bit more complicated. But again, we address it through the rules. It will never be perfect though. We are quite unique as a sport. Most sports you don't have dual membership. You belong to the rugby club.
And that's that.
So it's a little bit unique for us, but there are other sports too. I'm sure squash, tennis and golf probably have the same sort of rule.
And I quite like the it's a rule in the law book actually, but it just says like common sense when in doubt, apply common sense to a situation. And this for me always has felt like something where you just need to apply a little bit of just common sense.
Yeah.
Just be a bit reasonable in how you approach it as both the person who might be a dual member and also your clubs and centres.
Yeah. Common sense and let's get people playing bowls.
Oh, yeah.
Let's try not to deny opportunity.
Precisely. Well, you've added things to the script, Mark, so I'm going to hand over to you to tell us what topic, or tell me what topic that we're talking about next.
Well, the first one I'll do, and then I'll ask you about the second one. So, online shop. So we are looking to develop. We are developing, actually. I think we're maybe a month or 3. I'll use that line again. Presenting an online shop to the bowls community.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to buy bowls, you'll be able to buy accessories, uniforms, clothing, apparel, merchandise, a whole lot of things through this online shop. So that should be up and going, and we look forward to that. We are using it. It's not so much a revenue generator for us. We are looking to, with the proceeds or the profits, return it back into the community, the bowls community itself, or actually provide some money to charities, New Zealand charities. So watch the space, basically, the online shop. And the other initiative that I feel we should talk about is a coaching set of modules called Better Bowler, but I don't know much about them, Alex, so maybe you could explain.
I can and I will explain, Mark. They've been newly released, which I think everyone's very pleased about. So if you're listening, you may have seen them. They're already on the Bowls New Zealand website, and we've published them on our Facebook, and they all link back to our YouTube channel, which is where they sit. And the idea came about from a conversation we sort of had as a group, Mark, where you speak about when you have a good bowler in your club, you want to know what they think about basic questions. How do you cope in the wind? What do you have for breakfast? Oh, that's usually, I have quite a lot for breakfast, so I wouldn't listen to me. But it sort of came from that space, and we had a number of different pairings, people like Shannon McElroy, Mike Kernahan, Taylor Bruce, Selena Goddard, Val Smith, Sheldon Bagry-Howley, etc., come and sit down in our studio, and I posed to them all about 35 questions each, and got their responses, and we've edited them into little digestible 1 to 3 minute videos, and divided them into modules as well. So it goes to 6 different modules, which I'm not going to list off the top of my head because I don't have it in front of me, but things like mental skills, technique, tactics, performance, fitness, nutrition, and a 6th one.
Cool.
It's good.
And where is it available, Alex?
So it's available on our YouTube channel, and on our website, and on our Facebook. So it's hard to not find. They'll sort of pop up everywhere, but the videos themselves are hosted on our YouTube channel, and there's plenty there to go have a look through. And if you're listening and you're interested, I'd encourage you to go and have a look, because I'm quite pleased with them. And I'd like people to watch them and see if they can get any value out of them.
Well, I think you've got the right people talking bowls, right?
If they're listening to the podcast, you're the target audience. I'm talking to you.
Well, I think you're not doing yourself a service. Well, maybe we're doing a disservice to the podcast, but a lot of it's aimed at those junior bowlers too, who don't have access to that level of expertise or coaching in their club. So they're able to go on and, as you said, a 3-minute video, and, listen to the best about what it is to play in the wind. Or with bad conditions, or on slower or faster greens, or whatever it might be, and that's really cool. And I think that's been missing in terms of the whole coaching spaces. Just those little tools that people can grab and use as individuals. Yeah, that was juniors or whatever.
Absolutely, the intention was to have some self-directed learning. If you're interested in finding something out, you can find it, and we've just divvied it into the different modules to make it a bit easier to find, so you're not scrolling through 200 videos looking for a question about mental skills when you're accidentally stuck in fitness or nutrition. Bowlers didn't have that much to say about nutrition, Mark, which I thought was interesting. That's one of the smaller playlists. There was a few of them that didn't have an answer.
A pie and a beer for lunch.
Oh, that's what one of them might have said. But it didn't make it to YouTube. But no, it was certainly interesting. It was enjoyable to do, and there was a few bloopers that I might release at some point.
I think our thanks to those that those of our top bowlers and coaches that actually took the time to actually contribute to this. Because it is really good. It's necessary, and I suspect too, Alex, that it may well go beyond just New Zealand shores as well. I suspect that those YouTube clips will be played around the world.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, which is our contribution maybe back into the international scene as well.
Brilliant. You said that well, Mark. Are we back on track, or have you got a third?
No, that's it. I was just going to close it up from my end before you say thank you, Mark, for your words of wisdom. Is to wish, what have we got now? Champs in July.
We're going to talk about people in whites.
People in whites.
And how we're challenging the granddad in his whites perception.
Oh, we've done that enough over the years.
We have, so just pretend you've heard it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. No. And look, it's just that line to say that that everything we do now is around diversity and inclusion in our sport. So, we see a lot of it in the media and that nowadays, where sports need to be inclusive, and whether that's ethnicity or gender or age, etc. And hand on heart, I think we can all say that our bowls community has come on leaps and bounds in the last few years in terms of actually demonstrating, showing.
Following through,
Yeah, and showing that inclusion, that diversity. We see it through our broadcasts. We see it in our international teams. We see it in the events that we have that we absolutely celebrate inclusion. The para space. It's a really cool statement to be making. And I ran the line, as we all did, I think. Granddad and his bowls is granddad and his whites. That's not the case these days at all. That's the diversity and inclusion statement. All right, my wrap. Thank you, Alex. I wish all those well that are heading to the Champ Series in July. Where we in Hastings, Dunedin, and Auckland. I think it is. Wishing those from the regions, really good numbers turning up again. Which is great. And if I don't get on another podcast between now and August, wishing our Blackjacks all the best as they head off to the World Champs on the Gold Coast.
Brilliant. Good wrap. Well, thank you very much, Mark, for joining me on this episode of Beyond the Bias, which is the name we went for, incidentally, Beyond the Bias with Alex Reid. I quite like it. It's grown on me. So I suppose, yeah.
Who's your next interviewee?
Well, I've got a few in the pipeline. Maybe John Murtagh might be the next one.
Oh, that'd be good. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you need to. I'll put it in your KPIs, but I think you need to be doing monthly podcasts like this.
Cool.
So we're now in June. So you've done the June one.
Yes, and
you'll be doing the July one.
The July one. So tune in July to be on the bias with me and maybe John or someone else.